KBLY.
Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 6.
We start tonight with a story you'll only see here on Valley News Live. School documents show a West Fargo Cheyenne High School English teacher recently resigned over concerns she had a sexual relationship with a student and gave alcohol to minors, as well as having alcohol on school grounds.
This comes after a West Fargo student reached out to us on our whistleblower hotline, asking us to look into a teacher engaging in oral sex and drinking alcohol with her students.
Valley News Team's Christine Stanwin has been following the whistleblower investigation. She joins us now. Christine?
Mike, Andrea, here's what we know about separate investigations into 40-year-old Elizabeth Doster. School district documents say she had a relationship with a student, which included rumors of oral sex. Also, Cheyenne High School staff inspected her classroom and found 4 beer cans in a plastic tote, 3 empty and 1 full, which, by the way, is in violation of district policy. But in a police report, Doster had a bonfire party at her house in July. 3 students were there. All were 18 years old. They were described as friends of Doster, and it turns out they were former students. The police detail an argument that broke out among the young men who were playing a drinking game inside the house. Doster told police she was unaware that anyone was drinking alcohol. However, a student wound up being charged with a minor in possession. Police say Doster was, quote, highly intoxicated to the point where she couldn't stand on her own. I talked with the Cass County State's Attorney's Office, which said that while there was probable cause for child neglect and providing alcohol to minor charges to be recommended, they felt there was insufficient evidence to prove it in court. And with regards to child neglect, that's being sent to the Cass County Social Services Office. But as far as West Fargo School District, Miss Doster was placed on administrative leave, and after the investigation, the district recommended her firing to the school board. Doster resigned effective August 28th. District Superintendent Dr. David Flowers was not available for an interview regarding the investigation, but we did get a written statement from the district. We've attached it to this story on valleynewslive.com. Mike?
All right, thanks, Christine. We've reached out to Doster, but we weren't able to get through. Look for more on this investigation tonight on Valley News Live at 9 on Fargo CW and Valley News Live 10 at 10.
Our transition in the weather continues, and that includes the increasing chance for rain. Let's find out about tonight. Hutch?
A few of us are continuing to see showers and rumbles of thunder, but the temperature, one of the most noticeable changes we're seeing. Look at the oil patch, 54 in Williston, while it is 88 in Minneapolis. Alexandria still in the 80s as well, 63 in Fargo. Most of the showers this afternoon pass just north of the FM area. They're continuing off to the northeast, moving fairly rapidly. Still Norman County having a majority of the thunder shower activity. Some small soft hail possible from those as they exit your region in the upcoming hour. These extend all the way up through the northern Red Lakes areas, and that is just heavy rain with a few rumbles of thunder. In Fargo, barely steady temperatures as we go through the evening. A north wind 10 to 15 miles per hour and dry. Not dry Friday. Details in your forecast here in just a few moments.
All right, thanks, Hutch.
A whistleblower investigation by Valley News Live has uncovered dysfunction in the Child Protective Services Department in Grand Forks County. Internal emails revealed concerns with the leadership of the CPS department ultimately leading to 11 people leaving a department of 7 in just over a year's time.
Now parents are coming forward claiming their children are the victims of a broken county governmental bureaucracy. Valley News Team's Ryan Laughlin has the Whistleblower Investigation.
There's no doubt in my mind that my son was abused.
I know how unjust this place can be, and it's not okay.
They should be held accountable to their community, and they are not.
Meet Heidi Hill, Heidi Sagano, and Emily Nelson. They all have very different stories, with one big thing in common: an issue with how Grand Forks Child Protective Services handles cases.
I thought that I was being victimized as the victim, and I held a grudge about that for a long time during my fight with social services.
At first, Sagano thought her 3 children should have never been taken away from her.
It took me about a year and a half before I realized that I had nobody to blame.
She says it started with meth and an abusive relationship.
I called 911 on my ex. He said that he had hid drugs in my house, didn't remember where he put them. He was scared that my kids were going to find it. They raided my house twice. They didn't find any drugs, but due to the severity of the 911 call, my landlord didn't renew my lease.
With drug charges against Sagano and no safe home, CPS took her kids. Headed to jail, she says she learned sexual abuse had been taking place with her daughter in the home her children had been placed in. She sounded the alarm to CPS.
She promised me, she gave me her word that she was going to remove my kids. So I turned myself into Grand Forks County Jail at 7 p.m. that night, and I didn't find out where my kids were until 3.5 weeks later.
She says her kids remained in an abusive home for a week after she alerted CPS. Another issue she had with the CPS department is how she learned her kids were going to be adopted by another family.
I found out that my kids weren't coming home to me via Facebook.
She's planning to sue CPS for social workers breaking confidentiality.
She was at the bar drinking and ran into one of my cousins, and she told him that she didn't feel it was right what was happening to me and that they should have gave me another chance. And when my cousin asked her what she was talking about, she told him that they took my kids, that my rights were terminated.
It's funny because with one person they might play the confidentiality rule and the other they might not. And I think it just depends on the person and what they think that they can get away with.
Heidi Hill actually called CPS herself.
It was really hard. I knew that it was the right thing to do. I mean, I felt like I was betraying my daughter, but at the same point, my grandkids were more important.
Hill says her daughter's kids were in an unsafe home, and she continually tried to get CPS to intervene on behalf of her grandkids.
Looking back, I almost wish I hadn't done that because we wouldn't be in the positions that we're in.
She says there were red flags from the start.
They kept opening cases and then not following through or not being able to connect to my daughter and then just closing them, saying no services required.
Determined to do what was best for her grandkids, she went over the county's head.
It took me writing a letter to the Department of Human Services director in Bismarck. It was not even a few days later that I got a phone call from Grand Forks County stating that they were going to, they needed information because they were investigating abuse.
Hill says her grandkids were placed in her custody temporarily, but like Sagano, Hill says her grandson ended up in an abusive home.
He showed us, him being kicked, him being choked. We would share our concerns. I did a 960 report and sent it to the CPS supervisor, and no one ever contacted me. And I did like 3 of them.
A 960 is the report that gets filled out when there's suspected child abuse. The reason Hill knows how the system works is because she says she's a social worker and has done this type of work before.
A 3.5-year-old shouldn't have inner thigh marks, bruises. I mean, I took pictures of this and we recorded what he said on why he got them. It was because he had pooped in his pants. That's why he has ankle braces, is because every time he would have an accident, he would be abused.
She says after months of fighting for her grandson, she and her husband were finally granted temporary custody. But now she says CPS is harassing her.
They're jerking me around every chance they get.
She says CPS has demanded numerous drug tests from her, which are completely warrantless. And she suspects the department is abusing their power because she went over their head to begin with. Today, for example, she had to drive down to Fargo for a hair follicle drug test.
I'm not a criminal. I don't have a CPS case. I had to drive from Grand Forks, forget everything that I was doing today in order to come here to do this test to prove, which I don't know why I need to prove, but to prove that I'm not this person that they think they are. And I think what bothers me the most is that I'm a social worker and my integrity is at stake here.
Stay tuned. After the break, one of the social workers inside the department is blowing the whistle on what was going on inside Child Protective Services.
I believe that there are kids that are falling in between the cracks with the way that the department is.
Our whistleblower investigation will continue here on Valley News Live at 6.